Derek Carr has a big extension coming, potentially, and it's arguably the biggest thing that the Raider franchise has to worry about right now. There's few things you can do bigger than handle your contract with your franchise quarterback. And there's been multiple, people talking about things, people potentially saying, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. So we're going to separate fact from fiction for all you guys. Okay? We're going to separate some fact from fiction, and we're going to go into what's worth it, what isn't worth it, what this contract means. Because when you're dealing with a potentially 30, 40, maybe more $1 million contract, there's a lot of moving parts and has a lot of consequences and repercussions. So this week, Vinny Bonsignori tweeted out, as it relates to Derek Carr and the Raiders, the sense is no proposals have been exchanged yet on an extension. You'll see various numbers being thrown around, but as I've been reporting, any extension would likely be in the $40 million per season range, which is more or less what a starting franchise quarterback goes for these days in the economics of the NFL. That's one report. And I don't know if you've seen this one, the next one, Soto. Because I know when you saw this one, your head exploded because you hate Derek Carr and the idea of giving him $40 million.
I don't know if that's the case. But
here's another one. So Vic Tafur, friend of the show, from The Athletic. And he talked about multiple things, but the big takeaway from me was this one. And he talked about, Carr taking a longer deal, a shorter deal, what that entails. But he said this, and that's what stuck with me. And then there's owner Mark Davis, President Dan Ventrelli, and Senior Vice President Tom Delaney come in. They are going to try to stay in the shadows on this, but I have a flashlight, and there's definitely a financial number on Carr that they won't go over. Buckle up. So a couple of things to take in right now. First off, I've been trying, because I've worked in media for a long time, Soto, trying to impress on you and educate you on how sports media works. Media members, journalists, and I'm not saying they're bad because they do this. I'm not saying you shouldn't trust them or shouldn't read them or blackball them or whatever. But the reality of how journalism works is you give and take. Hey, player, hey, owner, hey, coach, I have some information that you may want. Here you go. Now you give me some information. Or a coach or an agent or somebody goes to a media member and says, hey, you know what? I kind of want this information out there. How about you put this info out there, and then a month from now, I've got an IOU, and I'll give you some information later. There's a give and take. There's basically a little economy going on.
I get it.
With this, right?
Barter system.
Exactly. So you got to be careful whenever you read something to understand where it was. So like the whole Harbaugh to the Raiders thing, I was like, I don't buy it. I think he's just trying to get more money to stay in Michigan. You're like, no, I think he's coming. I'm like, well, I don't think he is. Lo and behold, we just found out today he signed an extension with Michigan, and it was all just a ploy to get more money, right? Why did I know that? Because all of the rumors of him going to the NFL came from his local media, came from his guys. And so on this end, Vinny Bonsignori, no knock to him by any means, but he is a guy that's kind of in the machine of the Raiders, so to speak, where he'll get calls. He's an insider, which is a good thing. He'll get calls to say, hey, I kind of want this out there. I want the idea that I'm going to get $40 million kind of flowing out there. I want the autumn Windbags talking about potentially me getting $40 million.
Because the Windbags move the needle, bitch.
We do. Giantly, right? Big old fucking needle. And then you've got Vic Tafur, who's a little bit more independent. He's still in the machine, a little more independent, a little bit more kind of standing off and giving you a big picture as opposed to being in the mix. So I know how upset you were when you got the idea that it was considered a report that Carr is getting $40 million a year.
I didn't say because it was a report. I said if they give him that much money, I don't want to hear any bullshit about getting him weapons and why don't we get him weapons because we're giving him too much cash.
Well, you saw that number and you're like, the wheels in your head started turning. It's like, if we give him this, then X, Y, and Z have to happen, right? As it should, right? Because it really is and I'm not saying he won't get 40 or he's going to get 20 or whatever. I'm not telling you what number he's going to get. I don't know. Nobody knows. Vinny doesn't know. Vic Tafur doesn't know. Mark Davis to this point. Derek Carr doesn't know. at this point, right?
Mm-hmm,
I don't think so. My point being, you get numbers thrown out from different places as reports, and they all serve a purpose. And only so often is it, all right, this is what I generally think as an insider. And oftentimes it's, I need to do a favor for somebody. I want to put this out there for something.
Okay.
So that's the first thing, Soto, is what number is it going to be? It's all still up in the air. And everyone's just kind of throwing shit against the wall, seeing what sticks.
I mean, I'm hoping that 40 is like something from the Carr camp, just to kind of throw it out there, and that's a high number. The fact that Vic Tafur put something out there that, that the kind of executives from the Raiders, Davis and them, basically said, like, hey, we have a number and a set number of years, and that's it. Like, we're not going over this whatsoever. I think they have a specific understanding of who they feel Carr is and what they feel that Carr's ceiling is moving forward. And I don't know that they feel comfortable putting him in a different bucket or a different bracket of quarterbacks and paying him as such. Just because he's up and he's next, I don't feel that they think, given this report, that there's a cap, a number, and an amount of years that they're willing to pay, and that's it. They're not willing to ease up on that and move him up just because he's next, just because it's his turn to get that contract. They're willing to do that. I'm sure that's been something that's been communicated prior to Ziegler and McDaniel's coming over. It could be something that's a big shakeup coming up, because if it's something where Carr digs his heels in, where, hey man, I don't want to have a short-term deal. I want to have something that's a little bit more secure. I want to end my career here, but I do want to play 5 more years. I do want to have, 35 is a good number to play, and a good number to reach for. And I want to play 5 more years of whatever. And I want to sign a 5-year, an extension for 4 more years. The 1 year I have left plus 4 more or whatever. And the Raiders aren't willing to go that far. They're not long, and I don't know, man. It could be tough.
So here's the economics of the NFL in 2022, and it's only going to get more so of what I'm saying, not less so. There are 32 NFL teams. There aren't 32 starting NFL quarterbacks. There just isn't. There are not 32 carbon-based human life forms on planet Earth that are starting NFL quarterback caliber. That's just the reality of it. And so quarterbacks and their agents know that. Like, they have franchises bent over and smacked. They have all the negotiating power. And so this is the reality moving forward, is Derek Carr knows, and his agent knows, that the Raiders don't have other options other than him. And he can leverage that to whatever point he wants. And so we're talking about, hey, like $40 million a year. Like, wow, that sounds crazy. That sounds nuts. That's the going rate for a franchise quarterback. He would only be the 5th highest paid quarterback next season, according to cap hit. Again, contracts that big, there's signing bonuses, extensions, there's a lot of moving parts, right? But on pure cap hit, he'd only be the 5th highest paid quarterback next season. His last contract, he was the highest paid for like 45 minutes, right? Stafford got another one and another one, right? So even as bad as it sounds and as hard as it feels, and as hard as it hits me too, Soto, like I understand the economics, and I know we have to keep Carr, but I want to pay him as little as possible. I'd rather pay Renfro and Crosby and get Devontae Adams, right? Like, I got my Christmas list just like you. But I also understand the economics of football, and that $40 million a year in the economics of the NFL in 2022, Carr can demand that. And the Raiders pretty much have to pay it or do some sort of Hail Mary, right? Like, that standard operating procedure would be to give Carr a roughly $40 million type of season type deal?
Yeah, there's a couple different things that they can do. There's probably 3 different routes they can go. And none of them are really that appealing, honestly. If they sign him to that amount of money, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be there's going to be a lot asked of the coaching staff to coach up the team that they have and to make and find stars that are on this roster already, because they're not going to be able to bring in elite talent from other teams, like free agent wise. They're going to have to find and develop elite talent, and that's what you need to win in the NFL is elite talent. And they're not going to be able to afford it because a Carr is going to be taking up too much of the cap to do it. So there's that. So that's asking a lot of the coaching staff. They can, if they feel, if Mick Ziegler feels comfortable with another quarterback that's out there that they can win with a cheaper quarterback option, while they build a team around that quarterback. In the meantime, while they find a longer term option, either a younger quarterback, maybe that is stashed somewhere in another roster that hasn't been giving a chance, or through the draft, or whatever.
No such quarterback exists, by the way. There's no one better than Carr hiding on a roster somewhere, and there's nobody in this draft better than Carr.
That you think?
That anyone thinks?
Who do
you think?
That I'm not the one making the decision. Again, you're asking me to make the decision, and I'm not posing this question. I'm not posing this answers to you as the decision maker. I'm saying that there's different routes that are options
for the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm saying these are options that are available. I'm not saying that they will do it. My fear is, we've seen what Derek Carr is, and we've seen what his deficiencies are and what his strengths are. My concern is, with the issues that he has, he needs more than what our resources will be able to give him if we give him that much of the cap. And I understand what you're saying about the economics of the NFL, but he's shown us that he needs more than what our resources will be able to allow him.
Here's hoping they figure it out, right? Because
yeah, man,
he's not going well. But on the same time, but also think more litigiously, right? So we're using the simple number of $40 million a year, just as like a simple way, right? But as we know, $100 million contracts with NFL quarterbacks are much more complicated than that. They can work out an extension with guaranteed money. There's a world where Carr can play next season on this contract, making less than $20 million, one of the biggest steals in football, but have guaranteed money on the back end, right? So like you play this extension, and then we're going to guarantee you, escalating numbers moving forward, which I think is what they should do, because the cap's only going up, and quarterback cost is only going up. Like, imagine when like Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and these guys' contracts like start coming up. Like, we're talking 50, 60 million. Joe Burrow, when he comes up, would it be shocking that he gets a $65 million a year contract in 3 years from now? I don't think that's shocking at all. $65 million.
Probably totally, more so probably in the 50s.
Like a $55 million contract would be like, that sounds about right. Right?
That would be $10 million more than the highest paid quarterback is making. Now that would be a really big jump. I would say probably closer to 50.
But that's what happens every single season. Matt Ryan has a $48 million cap hit next season.
Yeah, but that's because hang on, Matt. That's not what he signed. That was because he had a lot of his stuff pushed back. That he got a lot of stuff backloaded to that.
But that's exactly my point. You're right. That's exactly my point, though. Right? Is you can do that with Carr. You can give him all right, let's up this as the cap goes up. Let's try to win now. You know what I mean? You can do that type of things with him. But, like Aaron Rodgers due for $46 million. That's a genuine number. Kirk Cousins, $45 million. That's a real number. Deshaun Watson, $40 million. That's a real number. Like, look, I'm looking to get a bigger house, right? I want to have more kids, want a bigger house. Like we live in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
$1 million house. When we were growing up, the richest people had $1 million houses. Doctors, lawyers, your cousin whose dad was a drug dealer, right? Like those are the people who had $1 million homes, right? If you just want a 4-bed, 2-bath in Southern California, you need $1 million. And you're like, that's insane. No, these houses aren't worth $1 million. That's insane. Car isn't worth $40 million. And both statements are true. The houses I'm looking at aren't worth $1 million, but the market says they are. And it's either that or I rent or I move out of state, right? That's kind of the same thing with Carr. It's like, or any quarterback, right? Carr's just the one we're talking about right now, but in the next 2, 3, 4 seasons, $50, $60 million contracts for quarterbacks, those are going to be the deals, not because they're worth it, but that's because what the economy of the NFL dictates that they're worth, because there just aren't 32 starting quarterbacks for all 32 NFL teams.
So when is it enough? When is it going to be enough? Now, I'm not saying it's specifically Carr specific, but when is it going to be enough?
When the game changes.
But what I'm saying is, when is it going to be enough? How many chances is going to be too many chances? When is it going to be like, you know what? This guy just isn't going to be a guy that can get it done. How often? Like, how long do you give a guy and it's just not getting done?
Well, it's already happening with some guys, right? Like Carson Wentz, right? Like his contract, he clearly got paid and didn't pan out, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, for he's getting paid, didn't pan out, right?
Well,
so it's like it's already happening.
Jimmy Garoppolo has been to the Super Bowl and he's been to
but
conference championships.
Nobody's gonna say he's the reason they got there. Everyone understands that he was been holding them back, and he just kind of stayed under center and like did as little screw ups as possible. Like that NFC Championship game, like him in the whole playoffs, trash. Like when there's a 2-minute drill and Jimmy Garoppolo had the ball, everyone's like, okay, game's over. We all knew. And what happened? Like strip sack, like we all knew, right? Like that was a that's another example of a fantastic team without a quarterback, right? You put a semi-decent quarterback, a quarterback worse than Derek Carr on the Niners. They might have won the Super Bowl or got to the Super Bowl or whatever, right? Because they're just so talented otherwise. And so this is why I just want a step back for all Raider fans to say, well, $40 million for Carr, we're screwed. It'll never work. It's like the Raiders are playing with the same rules of every other franchise in the NFL. And if you want a standard issue NFL franchise quarterback that's not on a rookie contract, and we all know like this rookie contract is a game changer, right? If you can get a Joe Burrow or someone like that on a rookie deal, like you have a brief window to do amazing things because you have a bigger cap than you would otherwise. But this is I don't make the rules, but I know what they are. And this is the reality of the market for NFL quarterbacks. Derek Carr demands $40 million a season. He's probably going to get it. As long as we can be flexible with how that works, right? Let him play out this, give it an extension, give him guaranteed money down the line. We can start building this roster and make it work. But this is the big thing for Mick Ziegler to figure out moving forward is how do we keep our franchise together, keep enough money on the books to build, and keep everybody happy. Like that's why he's the new GM. That's your big thing to figure out. That's your number one biggest thing to figure out. And it's coming in the first 4 weeks on the job. Figure it out.
Yeah, man, he's got a lot to figure out. Hopefully he's got a lot of capologists there just waiting to figure some shit out because he's got to figure out ways to get playmakers, man. We need playmakers on both sides of the ball. And if Carr's going to at this point, dude, I don't know, because you were looking for that quote, and I remember reading it where he said, I've already been the highest paid guy. I want to win. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
Mm.
You know, so we'll see. We'll see. At this point, I'm not even sure, you know, if he's, you know, what did I say in the text message? If he's probably a crackhead, you know, he's probably doesn't even go to church. With his lying ass if he signs for $40 million.
Every single fan base wants their quarterback to take a team-friendly deal. We all do, for obvious reasons. No quarterbacks do.
It's not about want,
Never
RJ.
happened.
It's about if your quarterback comes out there and says, man, I really want to win with these guys. You know, I've already been the highest paid quarterback in the league. And then he freaking signs for $40 million a year, knowing how much he, like, that's the thing is for these people who think I'm a Carr hater, I'm not a Carr hater. I see Derek Carr. I see Derek Carr for who he is, and I know that he needs more help. I don't want to hear anybody crying and bitching and belly aching about him not having the help if he needs, if you're okay with him signing for $40 million. I just don't want to hear it. Because that's where his help is going.
It's irrelevant whether we're okay with it or not. Like that's the part that's the giant pill to swallow. It's like, I don't want to have to pay $1 million to have 4 bedrooms in Southern California. I have no choice. The house isn't worth it, but I have no choice. Like that's just the going rate for 1,500 square feet of brick and wood.
RJ,
that's the going rate for a franchise quarterback.
You can move to fucking Chino. You can
move to Chino, right?
Exactly. You can get that there.
Thing.
So that's the thing is you have choices to get your 4-bedroom house somewhere else that's not moving out of state. The thing that I'm saying is Derek Carr is putting it out there himself, saying that, I've already been the highest. I want to win. Okay, if you want to win, then let's see it.
I think you're hearing what you want to hear.
That's not true, man. Yeah. I will find it.
Please, because I couldn't find it and you couldn't find it. But
Get the fuck out of here, dude. How are you not? God damn.
What did I say? I tried to find it. I couldn't. You tried to find it. You couldn't. What did I say that was not wrong? That's 100% correct, right?
I was full of shit, man.
If you could find it, you'd find it. If you could find it, you'd be throwing it in my face right now. Look, this is my thing with Derek Carr.
I know what your thing with Derek Carr is. You're going to spin shit and you're going to twist it however you want to make it look and to put Carr in a better light. So go ahead and do that.
You know what you are? You are the dude who has like the really messy apartment, right? Where there's like pizza boxes stacked up, like your socks are like on the bureau, your underwear's in the sink, but then your girlfriend comes over and leaves like one shoe in the corner. And you're like, what the fuck? Look how messy my house is. Why are you making my house so messy? That's how you are with Derek Carr. Like every single player in the NFL wants as much money as possible. Every single player in the NFL says the team-friendly lines, but you only come down on Carr for it.
I don't care about anybody else but who plays on my team. That's who I care about. And when I hear people who are coming down on me for my quarterback not being shit, because I'm saying he's not as good as you're saying he is. He has these deficiencies, and I'm not saying that I want to get rid of the guy, but I'm saying we need to give him more help. And if he's taking up more cap than he should take because he's not as good as people are saying he is, and then that's where his fucking help is going.
Would you be mad at Derek Carr?
Buzzcut selfish ass bitch.
So now he's a selfish ass bitch for maximizing his value and getting as much money as possible.
Twist it however you want to fucking twist it.
No. I'm not twisting. I'm literally asking you. If he took $40 million.
I'm not saying anything. Derek Carr can come and I will suck his dick. Oh, fuck out of here with that.
This is when I know you're wrong, is when you don't answer questions. Like that's when I know.
Look,
that's when that's you waving the white flag.
Derek Carr is an average to slightly above average quarterback. That's what I think. And he needs a lot more than what him making $40 million would allot us cap-wise.
I would love nothing more than for him to take less than 40.
But RJ, but you're like, yeah, well, that's what the market. You know what? If you're paying him as a slightly above average quarterback, he would not make $40 million.
He would. Literally the market.
No, if you're a fucking dumbass and you're the fucking Minnesota Vikings, or if you're the fucking Tennessee Titans, or you're the fucking Eagles and you give Wentz and on all these other idiots all this money that you shouldn't have given them, you inflate the market by giving these mediocre quarterbacks too much money. We don't have to do that, but we're going to. Why? Because
you just said it. You just said it. They've inflated the market to this point where you have to pick quarterbacks.
To do it.
What's the alternative? Okay, what do we do instead?
I've said it before. You just don't want to hear it.
No, you don't. You don't give me numbers. You're like, well, we can move on. To who?
Okay, I've said it. I've said it multiple times.
Can you answer one question for me?
Nope. I've answered them all already.
No, you haven't.
You don't want to hear anything. I've answered them for a year and a half.
A selfish asshole for maximizing his value and getting the most money that he can?
No, Derek Carr is a selfish asshole for saying one thing and doing another. I
think you're reading too much into that comment. But I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying.
When you specifically say, I've already been the highest paid quarterback, man, I want to win. When you say that, and then you take this big of a chunk of your cap, yeah, that's bullshit.